Are you asking for a different situation, taking charge of what you're in control of, or are you being the victim and let them run all over you?
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Tony, hi. How are you doing today?
I am well, thank you. How are you? You're in a house.
I am in a house. So my van is currently at an auto body shop being inspected, which is actually going to lead into our topic of the day. But because of that, I was able to stay at a friend's house to work today while my van is down the road.
Exactly that. Like last week, we were talking about your van going in, and we said, hey, be bold and ask for what it is that you want. So let me ask you, were you bold enough to ask last week?
I was. So it didn't play out the way we had kind of like hoped in me being able to ask that question. However, yes, I made it very clear and I was very bold and said, hey, this is my situation. I live in my van full time. I know that it's old and on paper it might look like it's not worth very much. However, it actually has a lot more value because it's a converted camper van and all of those things. So context for the audience, in case you're a little lost here, is that I got in a car accident, which my car is my van that I live in, so it's my home. Got in a car accident about a week and a half ago, and the trouble I was facing is the reality that they might total out my vehicle, even though it's drivable, because on a paper, it may not look like it's worth the value that it is actually worth due to the fact that it is a converted camper van. Tony encouraged me to be bold and tell them that and say, hey, I need you to see these details. I need you to value the vehicle appropriately so that I am not left with, a payout that won't cover the cost of the repairs. And so I did that, and I was able to get into a body shop that I chose with a mechanic that has worked on my vehicle before and likes working on my type of vehicle. And so I think that is going to play out in my favor in the sense that he will be able to accurately value my vehicle and work directly with my car insurance company to make sure that I am taken care of.
That is awesome news. Congratulations. And the reason I thought that this would be a really good topic to talk about is we've talked about victims and heroes in our lives, and many of us play this victim mentality, in a way that's poor me. I'm at the whim of these other people, this situation. And for many of us, that works, right? We get our attention because we're playing the victim. So I get it. And I don't want to underplay that and I don't want you to hear, any of our listeners to hear, that there are not victims out there, because we know there are awful things that happen in the world and there are real, true victims. But what I'm talking about now is almost playing a victim, because Tiffany, you could have gone in there and not been bold and asked. You could have gone in there and said, okay, dealer, what do you think? And they could have said, it's too expensive, it's a write-off, you're done, you lose your van, you've got nowhere to live. And now you're sitting there going, that's just not fair, and been the victim of a situation that's going on. And we are the victim because we don't step up and ask what it is that we truly want. I want this to happen. Now, you might not get all you want, just like you didn't get it exactly as you wanted, but at least you were bold enough to set your situation and say, this is my situation, this is my life, I want this outcome here. And if you're bold enough to ask for this outcome, you might not get it totally, but you might get this. Yeah. And then at least you're then not just sitting there waiting for life to happen to you. Fate is a terrible writer. And if you leave it to fate, you're just rolling the dice and saying, whatever I get, I get. And we can step beyond that and say, hang on a second, my life doesn't need to look like this. I would like this situation. I'm at least going to ask for it. Might not get it, but be bold and ask anyway, because you might get something different.
That is taking control of what you have control over in a situation, which is something that we've talked about recently here is, okay, what do I have control over? What do I not have control over? So what can I do about the things that I do have control over?
Yes. And so that list is really important, listing out what you are in control over, because then you can sit there and say, okay, I am going to ask for certain things on that list, or I'm going to draw lines under certain things on that list, and I'm not going to accept anything outside of that, or whatever that is, you are in control. And I'll give you a good example of this. I've got daughters, and they sometimes walk into situations with other girls, right? Because human beings are human beings. And it can be this drama situation where she said, da, 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 you know, and it can be that little kind of niggly thing. And I sit there and say, well, in that situation, are you receiving and accepting the stuff that's coming at you? Or are you stepping up and saying, no, I would like this situation to be different? Are you asking for a different situation, taking charge of what you're in control of? Or are you being the victim and let them run all over you? Right? And so step up, ask, be bold in that situation and say, I can control my actions here. So I am, and I will ask for X, Y, Z.
And that really just touches on boundaries in a way. Mm-hmm. That could be in a more relational sense. Obviously, my situation is a little bit more transactional. Mm-hmm. In relationships, that's huge. So asking for what you need and asking for what you want is really just setting a boundary of, hey, this is what I need, this is what I want. If I am unable to get that out of this healthy relationship, then maybe it's not as healthy as I thought. Maybe I need to have different boundaries, or maybe I need to separate myself, all those things. And so I love that we're talking about this because it can be played out in so many different scenarios in our lives. And so, yeah, what then is the specific challenge for everybody today, Tony?
I would go back to our list. So the challenge is simple. Go back to our list of what is in our control. And if you haven't written that list, write it. Write a list of what is in your control in all sorts of situations. It could be school. It could be just a relationship. It could be whatever it is. Just write what you are in control of. And then boldly ask for the outcome that you desire, or the relationship you desire, or the thing that you want or need the most. Ask for it. Do not back down from it. Boldly step into it and say, I would like this, please.
Well, and that's advocating for yourself. And even if you don't get the exact thing you want, maybe it brought up the fact that the relationship needs to change, or your boundaries need to change, or maybe you realize that maybe you need or want something different. So whether or not you get what you need because you were bold, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a totally bad thing. It just means that you can do some more introspection and more communication to figure out how to now move forward. So it's still information. And that's what we encourage you today. Be bold and ask, advocate for yourself, and then do what you need to do with that new information.
And as a great songwriter once wrote, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need.
That is a great song. Well, go have fun, dance to that song. Let it be your kind of jam session this week. And Tony, again, thank you for another tool that we can use very practically in our lives. I am obviously using that very actively in my life right now, and we'll see everyone back here next week.
Thank you very much, guys.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining Tony and me in this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. We hope you feel encouraged and motivated to keep growing with us. If you like what we do here at PureGame, one of the best ways you can support us is by liking and sharing this video with your friends on social media. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel using the button directly below this video on YouTube, and you can donate at our website, www.thepuregame.org. And with that, we'll see you right back here next week.